ExecMBA podcast. I'm Brett Twitty, Director of Admissions for the Executive Formats of the Darden MBA, and you are listening to a new episode. So on this episode of the podcast, I'd like to feature a conversation I recently recorded with Jessica Hehman. Jessica is a student in our class of 2019, and she and I sat down to talk a little bit more about her career, how she decided to pursue an MBA, what she's enjoyed about Darden so far, and how she balances the demands of work and school and being a mom. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Jessica. Jessica, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
All right. So for our listeners at home, tell us just a little bit more about you.
Absolutely. Well, my name is Jessica Hehman. I'm a Director of Operations for Marriott Vacations Worldwide, and I am a mother of two. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old at home.
So where are you based out of?
I live in beautiful Hilton Head Island, South Carolina.
So obviously for many of our students, the decision to come back to school to get an MBA is a considered one. How did you think through that process?
That's a good question because it took me a considerable amount of time. I graduated from business school in 2005, and getting my MBA has been a lifetime goal of mine. So to do it or not do it was not a question that I considered. I knew that I was going to do it. It was just a matter of when and where. Some of the things that I considered was certainly the time away from my family, the amount of work that I would be taking on in addition to my regular job, and certainly what I had to gain from choosing the right school. And so one of the biggest deciding factors for me was the time away from my family. Darden certainly fit that bill for me, having to be on grounds only once a month as opposed to every other week was a big factor for me. And additionally, the format with the global studies and going to the places I was interested in, and also being able to choose my electives. Having been in my career for 12 years, being able to choose electives that fit into my occupation or fit my interests was really important to me as well.
So a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've had a lot of students say the once a month weekend residency works particularly well because you can sort of plan for it and you know it's not every other weekend. It's not that high travel cadence that would come with something like that. Right.
And so knowing that I have to be on grounds once a month allows me that the time that I'm not on grounds to maybe focus a little bit more on work next week because I'm coming away from an on grounds. And so it lightens the load a little bit before I have to start preparing for the next on grounds.
Yeah, so many different schedules out there. And it is a good thing to think through how much in person. You know, we're a hybrid program, 2/3 in person, 1/3 online. So that's how you get to that once a month weekend residency schedule is by having some online content. So you do a couple of distance classes in the week, right? In between your on grounds experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. And the distance classes, surprisingly, I found to be also very interactive. I was surprised at how much time I really gained with my classmates on the distance programs as well.
So we were joking with one of your classmates earlier before we started the podcast about all the kids who have made an appearance on the distance classes, right? So sons and daughters of current students who pop up during the distance classes. Maybe some invited, maybe some uninvited, just want to be on the camera. Other folks have dropped into learning teams. So families are obviously always around while you're doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. My son, it's become somewhat of a game. When he sees mommy going to class, he comes and gets a wave from some of my learning team members, and then I have to shoo him out of the room. But he's probably been on almost all of my negotiation courses.
So you're now over halfway through the program, right? So quarter 7, which is interestingly enough because of the structure of the program, probably the last time the Roslyn section will be together as the Roslyn section. Same true for Charlottesville section. So a little bit of sentimentality this quarter.
Yeah, absolutely. And Interestingly enough, a large number of my classmates from Roslyn will be in India, as will I. So it was not quite so bittersweet because I can say, oh, I'll see you in just a couple of weeks in India. But to say to some of them, oh, this was our last time until we're in Charlottesville in January. Absolutely. A little bittersweet.
How did you... So have you been on a global residency yet, or is this your first?
I did, yeah. I signed up when I was starting the program. I signed up to go to South Africa. And for me and the time commitment, that was going to be it for me. I was going to go to South Africa and come back and just know that I was able to enjoy that trip. But when I got back from South Africa, I thought, this is too good to pass up again. And the learning environment, and the quality of the information that was brought into the classroom in South Africa, I just couldn't give it up. So jumped on the chance to go to India, and now I'm 5 weeks away. Super excited.
Yeah, so for those of you listening at home, EMBA format students do one of the 4 global residencies. GEMBA format students do all 4 global residencies. Mm-hmm. Jessica's class had the option of South Africa, China, Western Europe, and Brazil. The class of let me start over. South Africa, China, Western Europe, and India. The class of 2020 was Brazil, China, Western Europe, and India.
Yeah.
And some discussion of South Africa coming back as a Darden Worldwide course as an elective. So EMBA format students can do a second global residency, space permitting. That's always the wild card. There are seats. So that's how she gets to do a second global residency. And have you been to India before?
I've not, no.
Okay. So what are you looking forward to the most?
Honestly, the most I'm looking forward to is spending that time with my classmates. Being able to travel abroad together as a group is an experience unlike anything else that I've experienced in my life. I've certainly been able to travel for work, and this is not that. So being in South Africa and being fully immersed in the country and understanding the economics and the business side and meeting with meeting with South African leaders was really impactful for me. And so, I chose India, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Hoping for another experience like that.
Absolutely.
So, as you thought about your schedule and kind of program you wanted to do and all of this, obviously you were also balancing sort of your family, right? You had noted that. So, how are you managing the time commitment of all? You're working, you've got personal commitments, you're a mom, and school.
Absolutely. That might be a better question for my husband. How I'm balancing. I would say I honestly I really try to do the best I can. I certainly can't be everywhere for everyone. I spend a lot of time being very strategic with my schedule, and I've gotten a lot better about being in the moment. For example, if I'm going to take some time off to be with my kids and my husband, that is 100% what I'm going to do. If I'm going to spend the evening studying for my valuations class, then I'm 100% there in the moment. So I try to make sure that my free time, and in that too, if I'm going to catch up on the most recent episode of Real Housewives, then I'm going to sit down and do that and be in the moment in that. So I'm trying to be very strategic in the free time that I have and making sure that it counts where I want it to count.
And so be fully present for, it totally makes sense. Well, I mean, when you're stretched, right, you could try to do 3 things simultaneously, which is hard, right?
Right.
Or you could just try to focus on doing one thing at that time really, really well.
I think the other tactic maybe, or mindset that I try to use or remind myself is the reason I came to Darden was to graduate with a world-class education and to learn the tools and the information that's given to me in my classes, and not to I'm not going to kill myself over the assignments or over the work, or I'm going to give it my best and be okay with that. So I don't spend hours and hours and hours of unnecessary time trying to gain one more point or something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of your classmates that talked about being ultimately learning oriented, rather than grade oriented. Absolutely. And because, I mean, why are you here? As someone who's been working for, in your case, 12 years. Right. You're coming back because you have things to learn, and ultimately that's the motivator. Right, absolutely. So how have your classmates helped you through this experience, right? So not only do you have support at home and at work, you also have support from within the class. So how have they helped you? My classmates have been instrumental in my success, to say the least. There have been, I have a couple of really strong learning teams throughout the past 7 quarters, and knowing that I can lean on them, and of course knowing that I need to be there for them when they need to lean on me has been really helpful. Most recently, I had to evacuate for the hurricane that just came up, and that was certainly not planned, and I was not expecting that. So to be able to quickly shoot an email or a text to my learning team and say, guys, I'm going to be out for the next couple of days preparing my family and my work for this hurricane, and knowing that they quickly responded saying, we've got your back and let us know what you need, felt really, really supportive. In addition to that, there are quite a few other moms in the program, and I've certainly made alliances with them and become really strong friends with them, and I think that's really helped as well, to hear their struggles and how they prioritize their work-life balance, and to hear what they're going through definitely makes me feel like I'm not in this alone, for sure. I think there's sometimes a tendency to feel like, oh man, this thing that I'm having a hard time with, I'm the only person having this particular struggle. Yeah. I think it's good to know that there are other people that are also having that. Yeah. And you found that your classmates are comfortable sharing that? Yeah, absolutely. And even I have a classmate, about a month ago, she and I both had kindergartners, and they started within the first couple of days of each other. So to send her a picture of my kindergartner and her to respond with her kindergartner, and just to be able to have that camaraderie with other parents in the program, it's really cool. Mm-hmm. I have also been struck by the learning teams, right? And how people sort of have managed that process and how they help each other out. Mm. Many of our prospective students don't quite understand how the learning teams operate here. How did you establish the ground rules, or how the learning team, went about its work and time together? Yeah, that's a good question, because it fluctuates quite a bit as you move from quarter to quarter, and you become more and more comfortable with the schedule and the demands of school, of your coursework. But some of my strongest learning team experiences started with my very first learning team in LR1. When we sat down together, we talked about this is our expectations for each other, and kind of laid out some of those ground rules. This is when we'll meet, and this is what I want out of this learning team, and this is what you want out of this learning team, and how can we make sure that we're getting that from each other. And also over the course of time, we've built up these natural friendships too. So you start to know what that person is going through, or what their week looks like, and where you can help, or what your week looks like and how they can help you. And so now that we've been doing this for a while, it's much more comfortable to just say, hey, I need some help on this. When are you available, and how can you help me? One of the things that I've been struck by in talking with some of your classmates is sort of the journey, the sort of the arc of the program experience, mm-hmm. that it's really hard when you start out. Mm-hmm. And, that first few quarters, really, really challenging. Was that your experience? Yeah, absolutely. And the idea of just making time for it in your schedule, and before you start the program, you
think that you're busy. And then once you start the program now, it's like, oh, I really wasn't that busy or as busy as I thought I was, for sure. So that was my biggest challenge, was to figure out where the puzzle pieces fall and how do I make it work. And now it's a lot easier to be able to say to my husband or my kids, Mommy has to go to school for a couple of hours, but I will be at your soccer game tonight. Or Mommy has to go to on grounds this weekend, but I'll be back Sunday night in time to read you a bedtime story or something like that. And it's become easier for my family as well. And
you feel like you've gotten better at the classes, at the coursework, at the things that come your way? Yeah, for sure. Because you start to realize what your learning style is. My learning style now is much different than it was 12 years ago in undergrad. So I know what I need to do to get the material, to learn it, and to be able to use it in class, and to know when that's enough and not have to keep going to make sure I've gotten it all. Yeah, that's a great point, because I think when you first get started, particularly with the case method, it's a lot of reading and preparation, and you're not quite sure how much is enough to be ready for that cold call or to be ready for class and to be able to make a meaningful contribution. And you start to see that from your professors as well. When you go to your first or second class, you start to see this professor relies heavily on the case facts, so I need to know everything about this case. Or this professor will have expected me to read the case, but they'll ask me a lot of questions about my thoughts or my takeaways from the case. And so that's what I'm going to focus on when I'm preparing for class. And you start to weed out some of the stuff that you might not need to spend so much time on, and that will allow you to really focus on what you need to bring to class. When you were thinking about, getting an MBA, what was the most challenging thing for you as you were thinking through the sort of decision? What was the thing that you felt like might have held you back? I mean, you noted that it was part of a plan that you had had for a while. Mm-hmm. What was the sort of, if you had a reservation, what was it? I think it was maybe twofold. I think the biggest question for me is now the time? Is this the right time for me? And the second question is, what about my career? I am doing something that I love to do. I'm really excited about going to work every morning, and I really enjoy what I do. And I gained some momentum in my career and didn't want to let that go. And so, to decide whether it was time, and speaking with my husband and my parents and some of the people that I knew I would need to rely on if I were to do this, it definitely was the time, and it was now is going to be better than waiting, for sure. My kids go to bed at 8 or 8:30 sometimes. So I was going to have some time in the evenings, and they're only going to become more involved in school and extracurriculars. So it was certainly now is going to be better than waiting. And one of the things that I didn't do until a couple months into the program was consider the amount of goodwill I'd already built up in my career. So knowing that I had the support of my boss and my boss's boss in the company was really impactful to me, to know, okay, I might need to leave earlier than I normally do, or I'm going to need to take more time off than I generally would, and I would have their support in that. And so that didn't come to me right away. And once I realized this and was able to use this to my benefit, it was much more easier to make the decision. How did you approach the conversation at work? I think this is, sometimes talking with students on the phone as they're thinking about, working while doing this. Yeah. It can feel a little nerve-wracking to start talking to your boss about, hey, I want to do this thing. I'm going to have to miss some work. And yeah. How'd you go about that? Yeah, it was a little bit nerve-wracking going up to my boss's office and saying, hey, this is my idea, and this is what I want your support in doing. For me to recognize that I'd have to travel and
coming from the West Coast, I'd spend a lot of time at the airport or leave work at noon instead of at 5 or 6 o'clock at night. I kind of just bit the bullet and did it. But on the flip side, it was much easier. Once I got to that conversation and sat down in his office, it was much, much easier than I expected. And I had his full support. Of course it's going to be better for the company. I'm going to graduate in 19 months with an MBA. And so, of course I had his full support. It just was a little bit nervous going into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, it makes a lot of sense. I'm going to get an MBA. I'm going to be a better employee. I'm going to learn all these things. But I guess it just seems like an intimidating conversation to some folks. I know from just phone conversation. We always encourage students, though, have that conversation up front. Start it, as part of your professional development planning, as part of sort of as you talk about your role within the company, you have a feedback conversation, any of that kind of stuff. If an MBA is important, help your boss understand why.
And I think one of the benefits of getting an executive MBA is there have been multiple times when I've brought that information from the classroom back to work, even on Monday. I learned something on Saturday or Sunday, and instantly on Monday I'm like, okay, I've seen a better way of doing this, or now I know how to fix this problem that we've been having. So it's very tangible for my boss to see some of these changes that I've been able to implement.
So, and it's for those of you who may be wondering, gosh, I thought Jessica said she was coming from Hilton Head.
Oh.
When she started the program, she was living in San Diego. So when she applied and interviewed, she was out on the West Coast and moved to the East Coast. So from one beautiful place to another beautiful place. Yeah. So what would be your advice to prospective students? Obviously, we have a lot of prospective students that listen to the podcast. Thinking through, is now the right time for me? Should I go get an MBA? What would be your advice to these folks?
Yeah, absolutely. My first advice is to jump in and do it. I really don't think that especially in my situation, there was no better time to do it. So my first advice would be now's the time, and you'll only be able to use your MBA, to leverage your MBA throughout your career. And so the sooner the better. But secondly is if there is concern or hesitation, then to reach out, whether it be to another colleague who has their MBA or of course to our network of executive women or to other students, certainly to talk about our experiences because we'd be happy to share that for sure.
Yeah, that's great advice. So if you're listening to this podcast and you want to connect, let us know in the admissions office. We'll be happy to connect you with someone from the class, someone who shares your background. Of course, if you want to talk to, we have 6 student organizations. The Network of Executive Women is one of them. And they've been great partners for us as admissions staff. Actually, just not so long ago, co-hosted a networking happy hour. So very much engaged and eager to help prospective students. Because, again, to our earlier conversation, I think many folks think, gosh, I must be the only person on the planet worried about this particular thing, thinking about this particular thing, having this particular challenge. And whether you're a prospective student or current student, you quickly find by talking to other people, oh, no, I totally had that thought, or I was totally worried about that too, and here's how I worked through it. So Jessica, well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And that was my conversation with Jessica Hehman, a student in our class of 2019. Of course, as always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, anything you'd like for us to cover here on the podcast, we're all ears. We can be reached at exec, that's EXEC, MBA at darden.virginia.edu. Till next time, thanks for listening.